Hi, welcome to another episode. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Without much ado, let's dive in. President Joe Biden appeared to offer his harshest criticism yet of the Israeli government since Hamas terrorist attack on October 7th, saying that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has a tough decision to make. Biden made the remarks at an off-camera campaign reception in Washington on Tuesday afternoon, suggesting that Netanyahu's government is hindering a long-term solution. I think he has to change, and with this government in Israel is making it very difficult for him to move, he said. The president said that far-right members of the Israeli government like National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir don't want a two-state solution with the Palestinians and that changes must be made to the government. And, folks, look, if you think about it, one of the things that Bibi understands, I think, now, but I'm not sure Ben-Gvir and his war cabinet do, who have spoken to several times, is that Israel's security can rest on the United States. But right now it has more than the United States. It has the European Union, it has Europe, it has most of the world supporting it, Biden said. But they're starting to lose that support by the indiscriminate bombing that takes place. Biden warned that Israel is beginning to lose support in Europe and around the world because of its military offensive against Hamas in Gaza and the rising number of civilian deaths. The president reiterated that Israel can learn from the mistakes that the U.S. made after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. At the same time, Biden said that Hamas must be held accountable for October 7th. He also spoke about the conflict in the Middle East during a White House Hanukkah reception Monday evening. I make no bones about it. I've had my differences with some Israeli leadership. I've known Bibi for now 51 years, he said. We have to be careful. The whole world's public opinion can shift overnight. Biden said that many of those at the reception know someone directly or indirectly who has been affected by the October 7th attack or by Israel's response. As I said after the attack, my commitment to the safety of Jewish people, the security of Israel, and its right to exist as an independent state is unshakable, he said. Folks, were there no Israel, there wouldn't be a Jew in the world that was safe. The Ministry of Health in Gaza, which is controlled by Hamas, said Tuesday that more than 18,000 people have been killed in the territory since October 7th. Israeli military officials, meanwhile, say 97 of their soldiers have been killed during the country's fight in Gaza, which came in response to Hamas terrorists killing about 1,200 people and seizing about 240 hostages. As the death toll has risen, calls for a ceasefire have grown. The U.S. vetoed a United Nations resolution that called for an immediate ceasefire, with the deputy U.S. ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, saying the resolution would only plant the seeds for the next war. Sources said Israel is asking the United States for more weapons, including large aerial bombs, ammunition, and air defenses. The weaponry has reportedly been discussed using as leverage are 155mm artillery rounds and joint direct attack munitions, which are guidance kits that convert dumb bombs into precision-guided munitions. The administration is focusing on withholding or delaying offensive military equipment and is likely to continue to send defense systems, sources said. Biden has privately told Netanyahu that he won't support Israel's war in Gaza lasting a year and is concerned both about the growing death toll in Gaza and about the impact the war is having on younger U.S. voters in the run-up to the 2024 elections. A senior administration official anonymously told NBC News there's a lot more that needs to be done and they need to be more careful about. A spokesperson for the White House National Security Council told Reuters there has not been a change in our policy. Israel has a right and obligation to defend themselves against the threat of Hamas while abiding by international humanitarian law and protecting civilian lives, and we remain committed to support Israel in its fight against Hamas. We have done so since October 7th and will continue to. The U.S. took the rare step Thursday of condemning an attack on a UN facility in Khan Yunis that was housing an estimated 30,000 refugees. State Department spokesman Vedant Patel in a statement that we deplore today's attack on the UN's Khan Yunis training center. Civilians must be protected and the protected nature of UN facilities must be respected and humanitarian workers must be protected so that they can continue providing civilians with the life-saving humanitarian assistance that they need. He added. Israel denied that its forces struck the center. Biden embraced Netanyahu after October 7th and has kept up the flow of U.S. military assistance while the White House has backed Israel's right to defend itself even amid calls for a ceasefire. Netanyahu has vowed to continue to do what is necessary in Gaza after the UN's top court told Israel to prevent genocide but stopped short of calling for a ceasefire as it ruled on a case brought by South Africa at The Hague. He said, like every country, Israel has the basic right to defend itself. The court in The Hague rightfully rejected the outrageous request to take that away from us. We will continue to do what is necessary to defend our country and defend our people. The International Court of Justice demanded that Israel try to contain death and damage in its military offensive, ruling that Israel must do all it can to prevent genocide, including refraining from killing Palestinians or causing harm to them. But the court stopped short of ordering a ceasefire in Gaza in a genocide case filed by South Africa. The standoff between Israel and Egypt, two close U.S. allies, took shape as aid groups warned that an offensive in Rafah would worsen the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza. Around 80% of residents have fled their homes, and the UN says a quarter of the population faces starvation. A ground operation in Rafah could cut off one of the only avenues for delivering food and medical supplies. 44 trucks of aid entered Gaza on Sunday. About 500 entered daily before the war. Following U.S. pressure, Israel will be sending a delegation to Cairo for talks on a framework that will see the release of hostages and achieve an extended pause, according to Hebrew media reports. Senior officials from the United States, Egypt, and Qatar are expected in the Egyptian capital to resume negotiations on the three-phase deal, sources familiar with the matter said. The framework was hammered out in Paris last month by CIA Director Bill Burns, his Israeli counterpart David Barnea of the Mossad, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Thani, who also serves as Foreign Minister, and Egyptian intelligence chief Abbas Kamel. It reportedly envisions a three-phase humanitarian pause, with 35 to 40 Israeli hostages, including women, men over the age of 60, and those with serious medical conditions released during the first 6-week phase. Israeli soldiers and the bodies of killed hostages would be released in the second and third phases. Details regarding the latter phases, as well as the number and identities of Palestinian security prisoners who would be released by Israel, were to be discussed in subsequent negotiations if the sides both agreed to the Paris proposal. Other reports presented different versions of the framework, which has not been officially published. Israel has waffled on sending representatives to the Cairo talks this week after Hamas offered a counter-proposal that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called delusional. The Palestinian terror group's demands include a permanent ceasefire, a withdrawal of troops from Gaza, reconstruction of the enclave, and some 1,500 Palestinian prisoners, among them terror masterminds, in exchange for the remaining hostages taken on October 7. Thanks for watching, and see you in another episode of World Formatics.